Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the ego once again and judgment. Now, the two of those are inextricable, aren't they? The ego and judgment. We're going to take a slightly different approach today and examine when you should judge, when it's appropriate, because we're all familiar with the mandate, judge not. Aren't we? Whether we were raised in a Judeo Christian tradition or not, this is an almost universal cultural injunction not to judge people, not to judge situations, not to judge things without knowing anything about them at all. It's an injunction to refrain from labeling people, from labeling our brother as a complete idiot, a buffoon, or worse. Insert your profanity right there. Those kind of judgments. We've all made them, and perhaps you're making one right now. We're familiar with the idea, judge not. And why? Because we'll also be judged. And of course, we're judged because when you judge, who are you judging? Right? There is nobody out there. This also means, incidentally, that when you forgive your brother, you are forgiving yourself. There's no separation at all. So, judgment can be used to heal, in fact, as well as to harm. And we'll take a look at that. We're told, judge not, and rightfully so, rightfully so. Yet there is a beneficial and a proper use for judgment. Specifically, here we're in chapter 4, section 4 of the text. Now, chapter 4 is entitled The Illusions of the Ego. So we're looking at the ego here, specifically in how our identification with it harms us and how we can set it aside. And we've seen that we can and eventually will set the ego aside. And to do so is a choice. It is a voluntary election that we make in the present moment to set all of our psychodrama aside and let truth be just as it is. Yeah. These ideas are quite simple, aren't they? And I'm laughing because it doesn't mean that we make them easy for ourselves to practice and to adhere to and live by. That we do not, do we? So it's worth a laugh. Laughter is beautiful medicine, by the way, on the path, isn't it? It really is. It really is. So we see here, we've got a question in paragraph 8 of this section, which is incidentally all we're going to cover today. Jesus asks us how many opportunities we've had to gladden ourselves and how many we've refused. How many opportunities to make yourself truly happy have you had, and how many have you refused? If we assess this, honestly, we have to say a great many. Don't we? A massive number too big to count. How many opportunities to extend love to the Son of God have you refused? Even today, even this morning or this evening. It's a food for thought question, because every moment of every day is an opportunity for us to forgive and release. It is. It's an opportunity to practice true forgiveness. we're told here, and we instinctively know this to be true, there's no limit to our power. There's no limit to your power as the Son of God. There's no limit to my power as the Son of God. There's no limit to your ex's power as the Son of God. Yet, each and every one of us can limit its expression as much as we want to. We can run and hide, we can judge, we can place blame, we can hold ourselves back, we can get scared of our power and shrink away from the light and run and hide back in our dark room. We can close the blinds, we can turn off the lights and hide. We can, but do you really want to? Each and every one of us must answer that question for ourselves. So, a question that I invite you to ask yourself is, are you sick of running and hiding today? Consider, if you're still watching this video, which naturally I hope you watch all the way to the end. You're here for a reason. There's something that I've likely already said or am going to say that's going to connect with you. It's got to be something. There's a reason why you're here amidst all of the content on this single platform, YouTube, much less all of the other stuff on social media. And there's a lot of stuff, isn't there? You're here. How come? How come? That's a really legitimate question for you to ask yourself. And when something lands for you, pay attention to that. That's your inner teacher speaking to you. So, of course, we're welcome to limit the expression of our power as much as we want. And when we identify as an individual self-sustaining survival unit, a human being, by our name, by our profession, man, woman, child, by our nationality or ethnic group, by our political affiliation, any of those other labels, we're limiting ourselves. We're not fully expressing our power. And Jesus assures us that with his help, we can shine the ego away. We can cancel it, not by bludgeoning it with a club. It's not an opponent, but simply by shining the light on it. It disappears. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. We can do this with the help of our inner teacher. Even if you feel that you cannot, you most certainly can. So, are you ready? Are you ready to ask your inner teacher for guidance and help so that you may shine the ego away? It's nothing. May seem big and scary and large and monstrous. It's nothing. In truth, it doesn't make any difference whether you believe this message or not. You're still listening to it. The ego is nothing. It is not real. It does not exist, and you may willingly withdraw your allegiance from it. You may willingly withdraw your protection of it. You'll feel relieved when you do. You may willingly withdraw your love from the ego, which only harms. It certainly doesn't do you any good. All it does is keep us frustrated and sick and suffering. We can simply withdraw our allegiance from it right now, if you truly want to. So, how do we know? It's a good practical question that we should look at here. How do we know that we've withdrawn our allegiance from the ego? Well, how do you feel right now? We watch our emotions, we watch our feelings in the present moment. They are an indication to us of how well we're doing setting the ego aside. Any feeling of discomfort or lack or anger, rage, anything that's not wholly joyous is an indication that you're siding with the ego. This is true for all of us. It is. It's true for each and every one of us. Anything not wholly joyous is an indication that you're siding for the ego. What do you then do? Forgive. You forgive the appearance. What is it that appears to be causing you this frustration or this rage or sadness? It's an opportunity to forgive whatever it is that comes up. That is most certainly one way we can do it. And you can and most definitely should ask your inner teacher for guidance. Mm-hmm. It's a theme, isn't it? So, what's then the proper use of judgment? Well, judgment can be used to heal as well as to harm. When we issue the injunction, judge not, in passing, almost always, here in the world, it's don't make an opponent out of your brother when there is none to be made. Don't just call somebody an idiot. I can feel the mind saying, well, what if he's being one? Right? Opportunity for forgiveness. Does it annoy you? Forgive. Doesn't mean condone the behavior. You can and most certainly should put some healthy barriers in place. If this means saying, I'm not going to tolerate this behavior, I won't be spoken to in this way, that's healthy. You can still forgive. How can we do this and have it be effective? Well, the separation never occurred. The person that is talking smack to you is simply a manifestation that appears outside of us. It is symbolic, he or she is symbolic of our own unconscious guilt and fear. It seems to be outside us. Who has placed it outside us? We've projected it outside us. Our brother is ourself. Part of the attitude of true forgiveness is the acknowledgement that the separation never occurred. In fact, we're told throughout A Course in Miracles, that is the essence of accepting atonement for ourselves, which I invite you to do. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Jesus says here that there is a proper use of judgment, that the ego should be brought to judgment and should be found wanting, lacking, harmful, insufficient, and not okay. In other words, not worthy of the Son of God. It's not worthy of you. This is the proper use of judgment. If and when you judge accordingly in this particular context, it heals because you can't help but set the ego aside. When you truly see how harmful it is to cling to a false belief in our individuality as an independently existing human being, separate, of course, from all other 8 billion human beings with competing interests. I mean, we've made global economic systems that reflect the separation. There are haves and have-nots. There are people doing battle with each other. Attack, 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 attack. We've set it up that way here in the dream. Part of true forgiveness is the acknowledgement that this is, in fact, a dream. Now, A Course in Miracles, of course, is not the only world spiritual tradition to posit that this entire experience is a dream. It's far from the only one. But since we're here talking about it and you're studying it, it is definitely part of true forgiveness. This is not who we are. And remember, the separation has never taken place. It's impossible that it could have ever occurred. It didn't. Your brother is not separate from you. I am not separate from you. You are not separate from me. We're not separate from each other. And you know what? We're not separate from God. We're not. When we withdraw our love, allegiance, and protection from the ego, judging it truly, it disappears. So this is what we're all invited to do today. Yeah, right now. All right. So guys, the subscription button is right here. Thank you as always for joining me. If you have not yet subscribed, I'd love to have you join us. These videos appear several times a week here on YouTube, and I welcome your comments and questions on any spiritual path, whether you're practicing A Course in Miracles or not. Questions come up. So I'm here to be a resource for you. Also, in the bio here on my bio on YouTube, there's a link to my Patreon page where I have a weekly live stream. So we have conversations with live Q&A up to an hour. Click that link if you'd like more information. The next live stream is going to be tomorrow at noon at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in North America. If you're in Europe, that's 17 hours GMT. So you can calculate from there. That's a really great opportunity to expound on these teachings and talk about our own experience in greater detail. These YouTube videos appear several times a week. Again, thank you for joining me, and I really welcome your comments and your questions. All right, I will talk to you soon.